Joined by Frankie Corrado. Frankie, the McDavid versus Miller matchup has been one of the keys to this series. They've gone head-to-head on the ice for 47 minutes so far during the series, and the Canucks have outscored the Oilers 2-0 when they've both been on the ice at the same time. Is JT Miller the MVP of this series if he continues to shut McDavid down and help the Canucks to advance to the next round?
Absolutely, Gino. He has to be. Think about what a monumental task that is to have to go head-to-head with Connor McDavid, who said before the start of the season, this is a cup or bust year for that team. And JT Miller, Gino, right from the start of the year, really relished this matchup role. Rick Tocchet seems like he's gotten the most out of JT Miller. And because Miller wants to do this, he's added this element to his game where if you've watched him play over the course of his career, you knew this was there. You knew the potential was there for JT Miller to be this well-rounded player who eats minutes defensively against some of the toughest matchups, but still really contributes offensively. As we saw last game, he gets the game-winning goal. Like, for JT Miller to be doing all this and be the one constant in the Vancouver lineup all playoffs long, where you know exactly what you're going to get from this guy, and it's meaningful and it's impactful, he absolutely is the MVP for the Canucks so far in the series and in the playoffs.
I love the way he takes accountability on his own. Doesn't need to be called out at all. Listen, after they made the coaching change back on November the 12th, the Oilers had the best record in the entire NHL since then. And Thatcher Demko hasn't even played a single minute in this series. If the Oilers go on to get eliminated, would this be the single biggest failure in the Connor McDavid era, Frankie?
Yes, but I would preface it by saying it's the Connor McDavid era. It's not Connor McDavid's fault, Gino. Like, Connor McDavid, he does what he needs to do on any given night. Now, there's going to be nights where he just doesn't have it, and that's fair, and everyone goes through that, no matter how good you are as a player. But for McDavid and the Oilers, they had a golden opportunity here against a team that isn't really battle-tested in the playoffs, doesn't have their number one goaltender like you mentioned, and Elias Pettersson, for the most part, has been very, very quiet in this series. They haven't been able to take advantage of that. And, you know, Gino, you take a look around at Edmonton's lineup, and let's do a little comparison to the Chicago Blackhawks mini dynasty, okay? Connor McDavid, we can agree, best player in the world at this time. When Chicago was winning their cups, you could make the argument on any given year that Patrick Kane was the best player in the world. Give or take a few guys, but he was. And he was surrounded by Taves, who was one of the best defensive two-way centers, Hossa, a really good defensive player and offensive player, Patrick Sharp. Like, there's a number of periphery guys, but those were the core group. And on the back end, they had a Norris winner, seemingly year after year, in Keith. They had his sidekick in Seabrook, and they had Nicholas Chalmerson, and they had a number one goaltender. So if you're looking to build a championship roster, and you take a look at a roster like that, the Edmonton Oilers, they have holes. They have flaws in that group. As much as McDavid's great, he can't be like burdened with having to do it all himself alongside Leon Draisaitl. It's a flawed group if they don't get past the Vancouver Canucks. And yes, it would be the biggest failure in this era because of what they weren't able to take advantage of going up against the Canucks.
But it's not over yet. This is the second time in these playoffs that McDavid has gone 3 straight games without a goal. The last time it happened, McDavid snapped the streak with a goal and 4 points. That was game 2 against the Canucks. So Vancouver knows all too well what could happen.